Hey, everyone out there and rambling about Racing Nation. Matt Beamer here alongside Charlie Hercus and Austin Reeves we're getting ready to wrap up the championship weekend from Phoenix. Was it a good thing to race there this year? Is it a good thing to race there next year? Got a lot of other things to talk about, including the upcoming Formula One Grand Prix from Brazil. Let's get into it. This is a production of ITM Media. Yes, I don't know about anybody out there. I don't know about Charlie or Austin or whomever, but I'm already starting to feel the withdrawals from NASCAR. The 2022 season is over. 3 new champions have been crowned in the top 3 series, Truck, Xfinity, and Cup. And I'm feeling the withdrawals.
Nah, the real race is like less than a month away.
What, Snowball Derby?
Yep.
All right, fair enough, man. Hello, everyone, again, and good evening. If you are joining us live on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube Live, I'm Matt Beamer alongside Charlie Hercus and Austin Reeves. Like I said at the top of the show, getting ready to wrap down and wrap up this weekend's racing from Phoenix, getting ready to talk about everything Phoenix. All 3 series have crowned new champions and repeat champions, I should say. But at the onset, I'd like to send my deepest condolences to the Gibbs family with the loss of Coy Gibbs Sunday morning, an unprecedented and just devastating loss to that whole organization, and really wish that they could pull through it together. I know they will. Can't be easy for Joe Gibbs bearing another son. I hate it for him, and I just hate that. So thoughts and prayers here from Rambling About Racing to Coy Gibbs and all the Joe Gibbs family and the Gibbs organization as they go through that. Wanted to throw that out there right first. But gentlemen, how's it going? Preston is not here, obviously, as you can tell if you're watching us on YouTube and Facebook. His wife had emergency dental surgery. From all accounts, she is doing quite well from that. So he's taking care of her as he should, alongside taking care of his 2 daughters. But gentlemen, how's it going? Crazy weekend of racing, up and down, I guess you could say. But first and foremost, how's it going?
Yeah, going good. I knew there was a reason why I've never really clicked with Preston, and I just figured it out. I don't like men who beat on women. I'm just kidding.
Don't do
Preston did not cause his wife to have emergency dental surgery.
That was horrible. Don't do that. Don't do that.
But she will start making his sandwiches now.
Stop that. Ashton is a very pleasant and lovely lady. Don't do that. Golly, guys.
Anyway, it's going good here. So looking forward to Snowball every weekend at this point. Maybe get down there. It's not looking good to go down there this year, but nonetheless, we'll rent it and watch it on the phone like I did last year. So or watch it on the TV nonetheless for sure. So, but going good. Emma's healthy, so as long as Emma's happy and Emma's healthy, I could care less about me, to be honest with you. So, as long as baby girl's good, I'll be fine.
Well, as long as you're healthy too, Charlie, I'll throw that in there for you. I want you healthy and along for this ride that we call life for a long while there, man. But Austin, how are you doing, man?
I was doing good till I got home and knocked my dang trophy off. I know everybody didn't get to see it, but that kind of pissed me off.
Needless to say, look out for our Christmas episode. We have a bunch of bloopers saved up over the course of season 4, as well as our top memories from this season. Listen to that episode. You'll hear that. Just the audio version, but you'll hear it.
I mean, all you did was drive. It's not like you unloaded the cars or teched the car that night, you did show up the night before and help load up, but
loaded the cars up.
It sounds kind of familiar. It kind of sounds like you guys just show up for the show and not have to edit, pay for anything, produce, direct. I'm just saying. I mean, I'm on Austin's side here. He brought home the hardware, and he
just broke it.
and he broke it.
For 25 laps, I sweated, threw him out the window on the dash.
You want me to find one of mine and bring it here and knock it over for you? Will it make you feel better?
I mean, it just pisses me off. You run 25 laps and put everything you got out there. For me to knock it over, hit one bottle of freaking whiskey, and the top of it breaks off because it's a 15-cent freaking trophy.
But it's your 15
It is. It's my 15-cent trophy, and I earned
right.
it fair and square.
That's right, you did, buddy. But everything's going well here in South Carolina. Caroline had a little accident here on Friday. She got doored.
Yeah. Undoubtedly, Ross Chastain's spotter sucks at going down the highway just as much as he does in Phoenix.
It wasn't on the highway. It was in downtown Charleston, and I guess there was a garbage truck in the right-hand lane, and somebody was trying to move over left and just doored her. She's okay. Baby wasn't in the car, so everything's fine. It's just we got to repair the door. And luckily, we don't have to repair the door. The guy's insurance repairs the door, but stuff happens. She's fine. Everybody's fine. It's just one of those things. Could have been worse, but she's fine. So that's about the only interesting thing. Oh, and this happened here. This weekend, we had the Scottish Games here in North Charleston, South Carolina. And what it is a yearly thing where a bunch of these Scottish descendants, and not necessarily Scottish people, but it's just a festival for a Scotland festival. Bagpipes, Scottish Games, the whole 9 yards.
I want to go to that one year.
Well, come here next year because I got Maury a kilt and I got me a kilt on the way. Oi, I'll be wearing the kilt, laddie.
Can't wait to see that. I got the picture in my head. I just
don't think I won't.
No, I know you will. I know.
There won't be a dang thing on up underneath it.
Well, needless to say, Caroline cut me off a drink, and they have some good beer there, and I got cut off and drinking there. It's okay.
Good gust of wind.
Yep, nice breeze. Whoop. Oh, it's all good. But if you're joining us on any type of platform here live, go ahead and let us know that you're watching us and where you're from, and if this is your first time watching or not. And I'd like to say hello to everyone out there listening on their regular podcast platform, B.U.R.N.S Radio, or if you're watching a replay on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter. Really do appreciate you showing up. We're just going to go ahead and hit the ground running and get into Hey Man.
Hey Man. Hey Man.
Man is by far one of my most favorite segments here, and I'm glad we made it a staple of the show. I really do like it, and we're going to just hit the ground running here. First question here from this weekend's races at Phoenix, the NASCAR races. Following this weekend's races from Phoenix, should NASCAR hold a championship weekend there? Yeah, man, or no, man?
No.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. It was the truck race was fun only because of the cautions. The Xfinity race was getting good had it not been for the cautions, but still a competitive race there between Ty Gibbs and Noah Gragson. The Cup race, clean air was everything. And it was just a Joey Logano dominated show, which he deserves a championship. He stayed out front and did exactly what he needed to do all day. But it doesn't... When you think good racing, you don't think Phoenix International Raceway or Phoenix Raceway, whatever it is now. You don't think Phoenix whatsoever. And it's, to me, it's horrible seeing it on the schedule again as a finale for next season. Hopefully for the 2025 season, we'll see something change because of the TV deal coming up here. But hopefully NASCAR's listening to their schedule, listening to their fans, and will make changes in the future.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. Need a change there for sure. It definitely needed to go away from Homestead. It had been there forever. You know, it needed a change of scenery, you know, from Miami. But Phoenix is, you know, it's wore off there as well. You know, I like what they do with the All-Star race from bouncing it around. It definitely wore off at Texas very quick. So now we're going to take it from there, go to North Wilkesboro. I think that's going to be pretty exciting. It's already sold out. Good luck getting a ticket. And even if somebody does sell a ticket to that place, they're going to want like quadruple what they paid for it. So I think that's going to be a very exciting race next year. And I think that, Phoenix definitely needs to go and maybe even see, if they could get the racing back competitive at Richmond, I'd love to see somewhere like Richmond or maybe even Dover for a championship weekend.
That would be fun. Dover.
I would like to see Dover. Dover would be a cool track to see for a championship weekend.
Right. What are your thoughts, Austin?
Yeah, definitely not Phoenix. I've seen cats run around a yard and race chasing a squirrel better than I did this weekend on racing. So Phoenix, yeah, don't even show up. It's about like the Texas All-Star race. Why even go back?
Yeah, I don't much care for it. It is what it is. We have to deal with it for another year, unfortunately, NASCAR Nation. But we'll get there. I think we'll get there eventually. Second question here. Oh, by the way, Hey Man presented by Devos Outdoor Lighting. Use code Ramblin' for 10% off at following the links at ramblinaboutracing.com and under the social media platforms that you are watching or listening to this podcast. I need to get better at saying that at the top of Hey Man. But Devos Lighting for Hey Man presented by Devos Lighting. Okay, second topic. Track position, and this is from Austin, and this was a good observation here. Track position was a key at Phoenix this weekend. All drivers that started on the pole, that being ARCA for Sammy Smith, Trucks for Zane Smith, Xfinity for Ty Gibbs, and Cup Series for Joey Logano, won that race. Is that good or bad for the championship weekend?
I have the exact stat track here.
And I think I know the answer to this before even writing down and asking that question.
Sammy Smith led 75 laps. Zane Smith led 77 laps. Ty Gibbs led 125 laps. And Joey Logano led 187 laps. Between the 6 stages that were ran, 5 of them were won by those drivers.
Which is crazy to even think about. And going back to our first one here, Charlene, I hope I'm saying that right, Hickman said, what track would you want to see the championship race ran at? And I think Charlie said Dover, which is a good one. What about you, Austin? Where would you want to see the championship race ran at?
If they could get the short track package back good, I would like to see it at a short track. I don't know what short track, but take it to a short track. You definitely don't want a super speedway or a road course. So I'm short track.
I think just based on the best race of the year, which next week we'll get into our Cup season and NASCAR season in review here at the show, just to wrap up the season and put a big bow on it for the holidays. I think the best race of the year was the Coca-Cola 600. I wouldn't mind seeing it at Charlotte, although I'm not against the idea of every year flipping it around and switching it around, not necessarily at a road course, unless the road course is the Roval, but there's a lot of things NASCAR needs to fix with this car as well in order to ensure that there's going to be passing on these types of tracks. In fact, I think they should increase the horsepower back up to 800 something, where the cars were just fast. Maybe take away some downforce. I don't know. NASCAR needs to make some changes, but for me, I'd have to go with the best race of the year, which is a Coke 600 in my opinion, and say Charlotte. That produced a good race. But a short track is not necessarily a bad idea. Dover is definitely not a bad idea, but it's tough to say. Maybe New Hampshire, that'd be a fun place to have it.
Yeah, or go somewhere that they usually don't go.
Yeah.
Like what the trucks are going to next year, like Milwaukee Mile or something like that.
Yeah, maybe a track where they haven't raced all year and they just have to go there and do it, which is kind of, I don't know. But that's a good question there, Charlene. I think, what would you want? I'm going to ask her if she's still watching here. Where would you want to see the NASCAR race season finale, championship weekend wrap up? But going back to this one, the track position, everything, all drivers who started from the pole had to keep that track position and win. And that kind of created a somewhat of a boring race weekend for me. I mean, the truck race was kind of unpredictable up there till the end, with Zane Smith squeaking it by. No surprise with the Xfinity Series and Ty Gibbs winning. definitely a surprise, I think, for a lot of people. Enjoy Logano just staying up there as much as he wants. But even with that, Ryan Blaney couldn't pass him. He could catch him, but he couldn't really pass him. Whether that's the nature of the track or the nature of the car or a combination of the both, I don't know. Just kind of a lackluster.
That's the nature of your team owner saying, hey, don't get up there and battle your teammate so the one can catch you and he wins the championship.
That could be it as well.
Yeah, the past 5 or 6 weeks in the Cup Series too have also just overall sucked. So everybody's scared to death to wreck one of these cars and back it into the wall. So
Yeah, I mean,
next year, maybe we'll see it different with the changes and stuff that they're making to soften up the rear end of these cars. So yeah, maybe it'll change. I think a lot of guys were just trying to make it to the end of the season, without maybe sustaining an injury.
Yeah, they were definitely driving safe. Like it almost took the racing out of the racing, if you know what I mean. They were just out there trying not to get bumped, trying not to hit anybody. So.
All right, and Charlene looks like she agreed with me. Charlotte are different tracks each year. I think that's a consensus of everybody. But yeah, that's a good point that I don't really think about because I think I'm too complacent when it comes to safety. The cars have been so safe, and the safety's been evolving ever since Tony Roper, Kenny Irwin Jr., Adam Petty, and Dale Earnhardt died. That when I think these drivers are scared to wreck, that's never entered in my mind until now. And Charlie keeps reminding me that, so I appreciate that. I just never thought that we'd get to the point where it's like, well, I'm scared to wreck, so I'm not going to race hard. And that's unfortunate. But to me, that whole question right there, that looks bad for the championship weekend. It should be.
Bless you.
Yep. Bless you again. All right, that's enough.
Okay. It should be a point where the drivers are not afraid to race. And I get it. The top 4 drivers in each the Truck, Xfinity, and Cup Series are going to be up there in probably the most dominant positions because they earned that spot to be there. Everybody else, what am I racing for? A trophy? Yeah, I'll go for it, but I'm not going to kill myself over it. You know what I mean? So it's kind of a catch-22 there. It's kind of a product, I think, of this question. I think it's a product more so of the playoff grid, the grid playoff, the elimination format. Vice having 16 drivers in points mean everything, and consistency, like we saw back when Stewart won it over Edwards. I believe it was 2014, something like that,
so.
where they were tied, and the tiebreaker was most wins of the season. So I miss that overall season consistency. I mean, I get it. You still have 10 races to do that, but I miss that and I think that's what does it as well.
And I still think they could keep the playoffs and do that same thing if they take away the win and you're in concept. If you can take away that and do the win, and maybe you get extra, however many points, not many or whatever, but win doesn't guarantee you're in the next round. Win might just give you that extra 5, 6, 7 cushion points or whatever, just in case you do have a bad race, but it's still not going to guarantee you into the next round. I think that would push it, and I said this however many episodes ago, but I think that would push everybody as well to where, we don't have time to experiment. Like, just because we won don't mean we have 2 races to experiment before the next round, or just because we won at the beginning of the season don't mean we have the rest of the season to experiment before the playoffs. Like, we have to keep pushing because we're not guaranteed. We're not guaranteed to make the playoffs. We still have to finish in the top 16 in points, regardless if we win. The wins just give us that extra few points.
Right. And one thing that made me mad too about this whole weekend here is when they said, the playoffs, the stages don't matter. It's whoever finishes in front of the other 3 drivers, they win the championship. So it doesn't matter if, let's say, for instance, Joey Logano finished stage 1, stage 2 in the lead like he did. But then come stage 3, Ross Chastain ended up passing him. It doesn't matter about points. It just matters who finishes in front, which leads me to this next one. It's not on here, but I'm going to throw it out here because I've been kind of stewing on it since Sunday. Changing the points system should be, I think, priority 1 for NASCAR going forward. They should look at the points and say, okay, instead of having stage breaks where the top 10 drivers get it, if you lead a lap, you get a point, like the old days. If you lead the most laps, you get a playoff point, and do away with the stage racing altogether. Then that brings in fuel mileage, and that brings in a whole nother factors that we haven't seen in the Cup Series or, frankly, NASCAR in quite some time. I think if they award points for laps led and leading a lap by stage points and breaking up the races into different stages, I think it'd be overall better for NASCAR. What do you guys think?
I don't know. I see where you're going with that, but at the same time, I think that if you eliminated the current point system, as far as, you know, the win and you're in type stuff, kept the stage stuff, we've seen some fuel stuff this year. We saw it this weekend at Phoenix. So, or not Phoenix, Phoenix. So you still have your fuel stuff, but I definitely see where you're coming from on that too. You would see some longer green flag runs, but I just think until we get back to the hard racing that we used to see, I think the stages are probably a good thing just to keep, even with the stages and bunching everybody back up this weekend was boring.
Yeah, the only fun part about this weekend, especially for the Cup race, was the restart and the initial start.
Yep.
When everybody was diving down, when everybody was doing that, and then after 5 laps, it was so spread out, and whoever was out front, in the majority of the case, Joey Logano, Ty Gibbs, and Zane Smith, ran away with it. And that's what I don't want to see anymore. But I think that's more of a product of Phoenix and the new cars and everything, vice anything else.
Yeah. You know, maybe we'll see something different this coming year and then, you know, go from there as well. So
another thing that I didn't like is the way they let
I was going to bring that up too.
The 4 championship contenders got to pick the first 4 pit stalls,
regardless of where they qualified.
Regardless if they finished 1, 2, 3, 4 or 1, 10th, 20th.
Now, in Joey Logano's case, it didn't matter because he qualified first anyway.
Right.
But
I didn't know
the other 3 didn't qualify second, third, fourth, but they let the top 4 have first pit stall selection regardless of where they qualified. They let the championship 4 pick first this past weekend. That shouldn't matter.
It shouldn't matter at all because if I might be mistaken here, but Ross Chastain qualified like 27th, 28th. He didn't qualify real good at all. He had more of a race setup underneath the car, I feel. But if you qualify 28th, guess what? You're the 28th pick of
the 28th pick.
You get to pick 28th.
Yep. And that's the way it should be. The catering that NASCAR does to the championship drivers vice everybody else is a sideshow.
They change it for the last race. And I'm sorry, but you're no different.
No, you're not.
I don't care if you're Logano, Elliott, Chastain. I don't care. You're no different that last race just because you're running for a championship. The rules shouldn't change for qualifying.
No, it shouldn't.
The way they have it set up now, you might as well take the championship 4, and there should be the only 4 cars that go to the track and race.
That's
just send everybody else home.
Pretty much.
And that's why I don't mind the playoff system. I don't. But I think that it shouldn't be a win and you're in. It should be almost it should be still a points system, and based off of points is how you'll narrow it down to 4. It won't be a win and you're in 4. It'll be I'm going to point my way in, because consistency would be everything. Because if it was consistency that got your way into the Final Four, yes, there might have been a couple of those that were in there, but we would have seen a whole different group of 4, most likely, in that Final Four. There might have been 1 or 2 that would have still been there, but the rest of them wouldn't have been there.
I completely agree.
Because Blaney probably would have pointed his way in, just about it. Because regular point standings, he'd have been way up there because he was one of the most consistent drivers all year long. He just couldn't get that win. So if we went based off of points, there'd have definitely been some other contenders in that Final Four, not the 4 that we saw this weekend.
Yeah, and unfortunately, everything was all set in stone after Logano and the championship season finished. But I wish I could see where everybody finished, like if their regular points were tallied and not anything else. But I see the point there. I think a lot of revamping has to be done. Maybe not necessarily in the 2024 season, but in the 2025 season, once everything's kind of fixed with the cars and set up with the TV deals and all that stuff. Quit trying to. I've always been a big proponent of not what is it? What's the word I'm looking for? Generating drama, but letting it happen organically. And I think the playoffs just fix drama, kind of like pro wrestling.
Hyping it up way too much, and then you see a boring race. Yeah,
that's the way I see it. But you could probably beat a dead horse on that one. Anything else about the track position for drivers starting from the pole, winning the race? Congratulations to all of them. They earned it. No doubt about that, but kind of iffy there. Once Austin brought that to my attention, it's like, ooh, I didn't even realize that.
NASCAR's rigged.
NASCAR's rigged.
It's political now.
All right, big one here, and I think we're going to talk a minute about this one here because we did have a lot of group chat discussion on this one. Chase Elliott got spun off the front bumper of Ross Chastain during the race. Was it Ross's fault, Chase Elliott's fault, or a racing incident?
Somebody else want to take this one first?
I'm going to let you and Charlie go first.
I think it was a racing incident. If you look at the video, they both came down at the same time. Ross might have misjudged. Elliott might have misjudged. Elliott got the short end of the stick on that one.
Austin, you go.
Okay.
Well, no, I'm going last. This is between you and Matt. Y'all the ones who hashed it out in the group text. Your turn.
I truly think it was a racing incident. Unfortunately, Chase Elliott got the short end of the stick on that one. But if you look at the video, they both came down just about the same time. Ross maybe been a little faster on the restart. I think it was just a racing incident.
You gonna go?
Well, the video Austin sent me.
Okay.
Nobody made an attempt to check up or nothing, that's for sure.
Nobody checked up. I mean, even from the simultaneous videos from Elliott and Chastain's in-car, nobody was there. They were all going.
He's talking about as soon as Ross tapped him, Ross never checked up.
Oh, yeah.
Normally when you get into somebody, you roll out of the throttle.
Especially after the guy's turning in front of you and you're still, like, touching him.
Would it be safe to say that he didn't want to get run over from behind either? Would it be safe to say that from Chastain? Like, if I brake, somebody's going to hit me from behind and spin me out, possibly take me out.
This is NASCAR, not VRL.
I'm just asking. I'm just asking a question.
I think I'm kind of in between. I think Ross had a good run. He ducked down below Elliott. I wouldn't say Elliott blocked, because if Elliott would have blocked, he would have shown up blocked. But I think they knew that the restarts was your only way to really get towards the front, I guess. And Ross had a run, and he took it. I could see where Matt says it's a racing incident. It's just one of them things. Danged if you do, danged if you don't. If Elliott doesn't block, he gives up the position, but he blocked, so he got ready.
And go ahead. I'm sorry.
If Ross checks up, he gets shuffled back a couple car lengths and loses his momentum. It's just racing.
And I could see if you were a Chase Elliott fan or Chase Elliott himself or the number 9 Napa Chevrolet for Hendrick Motorsports, why you would be upset. If that was my driver, whomever it is, I don't even know who my driver is. If that was the driver I was pulling for and I saw that, I'm like, wow, he just got dumped. That's what I would say.
I do think Ross could have cut it a little bit more left. I don't know.
I feel like if he would have cut it more left, Elliott would have cut it more left as well.
Well, see, you couldn't.
I don't know.
You couldn't dive down and go like through the apron like you normally do at Phoenix until after the start finish line. I don't know how much room he had till the pit road wall comes out, the one they almost hit. I don't know how much room they had in between that, but he could have turned more left, but then again he could have hit the wall. It happened, it's over. I don't think Ross meant to do it, but then again he might have meant to do it because the video I saw, he never checked up as soon as he got into his bumper.
I'll give you guys that. He did not check up. He just he said, "Oh, you're driving on me. I'm driving through you."
If we could hear the spotter scanner when that happened, it'd probably set everybody's mind on, if it was a racing incident or just Ross being crashed out.
Well, Ross wrote Elliott scanner because they pre-played it there for the broadcast, said Chastain's there, or he said one or Chastain's there, he wrecked us. Again, if you're in the 9 crew or they're associated with the 9 team or a fan of Elliott, you're going to say Ross Chastain wrecked us.
Well, Ross Chastain has also built his profile in Portal over these couple of races of he's gotten into Hamlin, he's gotten into Truex, he's gotten into Elliott. So he's kind of built this case all the way up to Phoenix of you make a mistake, people are gonna think it's your fault whether you're right or wrong. And that's the case with a lot of drivers.
You're right. Unfortunately for Ross Chastain, you're 100% right on that one.
So it's just the human nature. So Charlie, it's your turn, sir.
Yep, Charlie, you have the floor, buddy.
Well, I just know if you get your nose 2 inches, 3 inches, 6 inches at that point on the inside of somebody's bumper, that's still not your spot. Not as big as them cars are. Even if you're going into a corner, you're going to have to be a little bit further under than that for that to be considered your spot. I get it if you're racing for a win at that point, like last lap, whatever, I'm going to stick it in there and I'm going to hold it there. That was nowhere near the end of the race. I don't know. Just I get it. Hey, we can chalk it off as a racing incident. Tables, ladders, chairs match there. It's championship race. But probably could have been a little more reserved, especially as crazy as the restarts are there. My opinion, and I'm trying to be unbiased because I get it. Everybody, going to say it just because I'm an Elliott fan or whatever. But just because you get a nose just a little bit to the inside of somebody's bumper there doesn't automatically make it your spot. So I'll leave it there. That's all I really got to say about it.
Well, then let me ask you both this. At what point are you on the inside or the outside of a driver, beside a driver? At what point is it your spot?
Send you a picture.
Was just can you just give it like halfway, like bumper
quarter panel tire or further?
this or like this? Or
I'll say quarter panel. Three quarters quarter panel or more is yours.
About right there. You would say.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just curious.
Right. He didn't have. I mean, the bow tie on his front end was probably. I wouldn't even say it. The brake lights on his bumper.
It was
close. It was there enough.
It was there enough that they made contact and spun him out. But
right.
I mean, if I was spotting for Charlie and a car was that close, in line with you, spot yours, and whatever happens after that happens. If he sticks it in there and spins us out, he spins us out.
But when you say a car's looking inside or inside, he's right there. He's there. When do you say he is there?
Yeah, Austin would probably have told me he's looking inside, but that wouldn't mean I'm going to give him that spot. Now, if Austin told me he's inside, different story.
So to me, looking inside means he's making the pass. The driver's making the pass, and he's not even there yet. Inside means he's there. Yeah, I mean, like if you come down, you're going to hit him.
Looking inside. Well, there's totally different ways you can justify looking inside.
It depends on the terminology too. Like different people want different terminology.
You gotta your driver and your spotter gotta be
on the same page.
You gotta understand the lingo.
Right. Understood that. I never understand.
If you say looking inside, it's almost who's gonna let out first.
Okay, because when I hear looking inside is a driver pulls out and he's starting to make the pass. He's looking. Inside means if your driver, the driver you're spotting for, comes down, you're going to make contact with him. That's what inside means to me.
If I tell Charlie inside, he knows that the car inside of him has the position that he's got to run a little bit higher, to take him out.
But that also means if he were to come down on said car, that he would make contact with him.
Well, in mine, Charlie's rule, it depends on who the car is inside. If that's the case, then not Charlie. That was his fault. I mean, he was inside, but he washed up and took
Austin's case. Austin thought I wrecked him. I never even touched him one race.
Right. I mean, we could talk maybe.
His wife even thought I wrecked him.
Oh yeah, we still need to bring her on to talk about that. Maybe for the Christmas special. But I mean, it could go either way. I mean, there's 1,000 ways you could look at this thing. I think for both Logano's point, or not Logano, but Elliott's point and Chastain's point, you can make a case for both of them, I feel. But it just really
can. It depends on if you're a Chastain fan, if you're an Elliott fan, if you're a Hamlin fan. You're going to go either which way.
Right, and I agree with you guys. Chastain hasn't made a lot of friends this year, but he's made a lot of aggressive moves, and he's won a couple races this year, and he's proved himself to be a championship caliber driver for Trackhouse Racing. I think you can make a case for either driver, Elliott or Chastain, on that one.
Elliott just, he's the golden child, so he thought that position was his. I know you're thinking it. I'll say it for you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say. But to me, even if it was Eric Jones who did that, I'm like, oh, I don't think Chastain did anything wrong. I think it was just a racing incident. They were both coming down, and I think maybe Elliott expected Chastain to go down a little further, and Chastain said, "No, this is fine. I'm good right here." And Elliott just spun off his front bumper. It just had to be Chastain to me. Once it was Chastain, it was like, oh boy.
Here we go.
Yep, here we go. It could have been anybody else in that field. It just had to be Ross Chastain and Chase Elliott. That's all. I think that's all we got to say about that one, guys, unless you have anything else.
Nah.
Oh, and I want to give a quick shout out here to Tracy, who was there at the race at Phoenix. There got himself another hot pass there. I'm not going to give away his secret. Go back and listen to our the episode a year ago, my first race as a NASCAR photographer, he'll tell you how he got it. But hey, Tracy, glad you're here. Glad you're back safe. Hope you had fun. And the last one for Hey Man, unless you guys have anything else about Chastain and Elliott. Okay, the last one here, and I think this is a good one. Should the track that hosts the championship weekend have only one race on the schedule? We saw Phoenix have 2 races, one in the spring and one to wrap up the season. But should the track that hosts the championship weekend only have one race on the schedule? For in Charlie's case, I would say Dover. It has only one race on the schedule, and that could be the championship weekend. Phoenix should have. Phoenix has as the championship weekend, and only should have that race, and that's it.
I'm gonna say yes.
All right, I'm gonna say yeah, man. Too. I think that's a no-brainer right there when it comes to that.
I'll say yeah, because you're never going to see a championship race at a place like Daytona or Talladega or anything like that. So
right.
You'll always have those 2 tracks with 2 races on the schedule. So
right.
I'll say yeah.
And that kind of takes away from the Charlotte race. We can't have, if that's the case, we can't have the race at the last race of the year, the championship weekend at Charlotte, because that's the Coca-Cola 600. We could probably have it. New Hampshire has 1 race a year this year. So I think 1 race a year or Pocono, move it to Pocono. Yeah, I mean, just something like that. It's going to be tough to say. Homestead was a good one because they only raced there once, and now it's usually the end of the racing season. And it'd be tough for the schedulers to find that out and find out which tracks are eligible and which tracks can do it. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, to me, that's up to them. That's up to NASCAR, but I think that should be the way it is. But anything else for Heyman here?
No.
All right. We're gonna listen to Tracy here real quick. Tracy said championship track should only have 1 race and not Phoenix. A terrible place for the Cup race, Xfinity Championship, but trucks and Xfinity or Cup and Xfinity Championship. Sorry, and the truck racing was good there. So he was there all weekend. He got to see everything. Good pictures from him, but the factor there in his Facebook profile was him and Martin Truex Jr. with his daughter. His daughter's grown. Yeah, I mean, I think if anything from this weekend, a lot of fans are not upset, more so that Joey Logano won the championship, but the fact it was really boring watching that race. And unfortunately, that's the memory we have to take all the way till the start of the 2023 season.
Yep.
And it is what it is when it comes to that. But gentlemen, that was Hey Man. Anything else until we move on to this weekend's action for Formula One, which again, there's really not much to talk about from Formula One. It's Brazilian Grand Prix Sunday, November 13th, I should say, at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and that is on ESPN. Formula One season, just much like this NASCAR season, has been over for a while now, with Max Verstappen securing the victory. I think all 3 of us could probably say Max Verstappen will probably end up winning that race, continue his dominance with Red Bull.
Most likely.
And yeah, that's it.
Talk about picking a low-hanging fruit.
I mean, what else is there to pick? He's won the championship. Who cares if he doesn't have to show up to any more races this season? If I was him, I'd be in Aruba on the beach drinking drinks from a coconut with little umbrellas on them. I don't want to go race. I'm done racing. 2 more races to go in the Formula One season. And pretty much here, I think we got maybe 6 or 7 more shows until our Christmas special, and that's it for us here at Rambling About Racing until the 2023 season. But Formula One there. You guys ready to get into our final thoughts here? Because there's really not much else to talk about. Unless you guys have anything more to add on about the Truck Xfinity or Cup Series races from Phoenix. Congrats to Zane Smith, Ty Gibbs, and Joey Logano, and they all earned it. We didn't want to see Ty Gibbs win, but he did.
Yep. Sure, hoping to see him get in the wall.
Yeah, we didn't want to see Logano win. Well, I picked Logano, so I'm pretty happy about that. And Zane Smith, nobody picked Zane Smith from here except for Jason Reeves there, Austin, from last week's episode. So
got lucky.
Yeah, got lucky.
Blind squirrel finds the nut every once in a while.
A broke clock is right twice a day, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was, but anything else before we get into our final thoughts here?
Mm-mm.
All right.
White flag, white flag. White flag, white flag. White flag. 1 lap to go. 1 lap right here.
Final thoughts here on this episode of Rambling About Racing. A very short episode of Rambling About Racing, if you ask me. We're only about 45 minutes in from their live feed, and it's going to be even shorter with the audio edited version for the podcast that comes out here soon. And again, if you're joining us on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube Live, really do appreciate it. Watching us after the fact, really do appreciate it. Or again, on your regular podcast platform, B.U.R.N.S Radio. And I think I can officially say now, Charlie, congratulations on winning the Fantasy League Championship.
Led it from start to finish there.
Led it from start to
It's the only thing I've ever led from start to finish in a very, very long time.
Well, congratulations, buddy. Again, I'm going to try to get a trophy here and adorn it with all of our fantasy standings. So you are our second Fantasy Series champion, along with SMR R&D, get to hold that spot. Maybe a place in the Rambling About Racing Hall of Fame here.
Hey, if you get a trophy made, don't use that company. They break real easy.
No, I won't use that company.
Yeah.
But Charlie, do you even want to read the fantasy standings? You won.
You know what? I can read them. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead and read them.
I bet I can guess who's in 7th.
This guy. I didn't finish last. Well, technically, I finished last.
I was about to say, how far do you want to stretch? I didn't finish last.
I don't want to stretch that far. I heard myself say it, and I was like, just stop.
I'm 22,341st in NASCAR app overall.
That's not bad. Okay. I think you're in the top like 10% right there.
Out of, I don't know, however many you play on the app.
Billions and billions. And
Yeah,
billions.
billions and billions. So the number one guy has 7,266 points. So anyway, go into our league.
Before we get into that, I love Ty Gibbs earned everything. Dale Earnhardt reincarnated from Tracy. Oh, no. Oh no.
Yeah. I hope he stays out west in Phoenix where he is now.
Oh no. And you're welcome, Charlene. Thanks for joining us for the show. Really do appreciate it. And wow. Okay, so
He's definitely a fan. That's it.
Earned
Doesn't know anything
everything.
about racing.
Earned everything.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Just read the fantasy standings, Charlie.
Yeah.
Just read them right now. Don't even try to fish down that pond
Yep.
right there. Oh boy.
Matt, you're still 7th.
All right, finish 7th.
54-38.
We'll come back next year.
Yep. 6th, SMR R&D, 58-62. 5th is SMR Operations, 6,172 points. 4th is S Blades, 61-75. 3rd is Matt Camper, 62-35. 2nd is Super Sumo 32, is 63-08. And 1st is me with 65-18.
Well, congratulations, buddy. We called it last week. You said don't pop open the champagne bottles quite yet.
Yeah, and then I forgot to set my lineup for this past week. Yeah, we got halfway through the race. I was like, oh crap.
Oh no.
Luckily, I didn't. I played very, very strategically, and
Yeah.
I still had like all playoff drivers in there for the most part. So,
because your luck, you would have not set them and you'd have lost by 1 point.
yeah,
Oh my God.
Or a half
absolutely.
point. You lost by a half point. You didn't lose by half.
0.01 point.
I don't think the math works like that, buddy. I don't think math works like
It would have worked like that for me,
For Charlie Hercus, it worked.
and then it would have been flashing loser.
Okay. This week in NASCAR, November 12th, 1972, Buddy Baker edges A.J. Foyt by a half a car length at the finish line to win the season-ending Texas 500 at Texas World Speedway. Richard Petty finishes third and clinches his fourth NASCAR Winston Cup Grand National Championship. November 12th, 1972. And gentlemen, that will do it. Next week, we will have our NASCAR season in review. We'll tell you what was good, what was bad about the season from our point of view, and maybe what we look forward to for next year. And well, we not get that far into 2023 yet, but we'll talk about it. Definitely go into detail about what was good, what was bad about 2022. And gentlemen, that was about it. Anything else before we wrap it up here? Thanks to everyone who showed up to watch us live, or if you're watching us on your regular podcast or listening to us, I should say, on your regular podcast platform. But anything else, gentlemen, before we wrap it up? Relatively short show, a good, nice and drive into work right there or drive home. But anything else?
No, I'm good, guys.
All right, guys. Well, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here on this week's episode of Rambling About Racing. Thank you so much for tuning in, whether you're watching us on live on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, or if you're catching up with us on all those social media platforms, listening to us on B.U.R.N.S Radio or on your regular podcast platform. Really do appreciate it. I'd like to tell you to follow us on all social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. All those can be found at ramblingaboutracing.com. Thank you to our partners of the show, Stand Up to Cancer, Fanatics, Extreme Sim Racing, and Devos Outdoor Lighting for all they do, not only for us here at Rambling About Racing, but for what they do for B.U.R.N.S Radio as well. For Charlie Hercus, Chuck 8384, Austin Reeves, Austin_Reeves 6, I'm Matt Beamer, MBeamer22. Stay safe and have a good rest of your week.